This is it right here.
This is it right here, yeah.
So a lot of security around. It's right next to those dishes.
Right next to those communication dishes.
So it just kind of looks like a regular old shed apart from all the CCTV and stuff that's around it, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't say anything about Ministry of Health. The dishes over there and the building straight in front.
A seemingly innocuous building on Defence Force land in the middle of prime Manawatu farming country. Although up close, there are some telltale signs this is not for storing tractors and tools. Was your impression that officials wanted to keep this facility a secret?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep it rolling. What's in there anyway? Or what is this? What is all this?
That, even if we did know, we couldn't tell you.
This is a story not only about what's inside that building, but the secrecy that surrounds it. The grassy flats of the Manawatu region on the way into Palmerston North. Up an oak-lined driveway, we met Mary Wilson.
We'd have over 100 hectares of trees now that on the farm that's been retired. I think it's very special.
You put a lot of effort into the environment.
Yes, a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of money.
Her family has farmed this land for generations. James Wilson first purchased land here in 1873, which formerly included the block where the secret facility now sits. The corner of the section was acquired by the Defence Force in the 1930s. The satellite dishes have been here for years, but in late 2022, construction began on this building, which was completed in February this year.
I didn't realise what the building was for, but we saw the building going up. And we talked amongst ourselves, the neighbours, and we heard it was something to do with the Ministry of Health. But I went in to register my dog in July, and I asked the girl at the desk in the Manawatu Council if she knew what it was. And she said, "Oh, well, I'll get somebody to send you some more information."
The initial information said the building was for storage of used medical equipment primarily and other items. She queried the meaning of other items and was then sent several planning documents.
And so one of the planners from the council sent me an email showing the consent, and it was for the storage of radioactive waste, the national storage of New Zealand's radioactive waste.
And what did you think when you read that?
Oh, I was horrified and upset. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it had gone up there and nobody had asked us, discussed it.
So just to be clear, at no stage were you asked for your views on the construction of this or what it was housing?
No, never. Nothing. I mean, there's 3 farms on that corner. It's a busy road and it's the centre of a farming district. And to put something like that in the middle I've found it unbelievable.
After raising concerns with council and defence, she was visited by 2 health ministry officials who turned up at her house armed with home-baked biscuits. They told Mary the facility was safe and urged her not to tell anyone about it, claiming concerns about national security.
I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to do it because I think people have a right to know, and I think they went about it the wrong way. And the bottom line is it shouldn't be here.
Is your core concern the lack of transparency?
Yes, it is. That we didn't have the chance to object to it, which we would have done, which is why they've obviously kept it secret. I don't believe they kept it secret for the national security reasons. I think it's so they could get it up there without us knowing.
A follow-up email to Mary from a ministry official stated there is no health risk to the public from this facility. The spent radioactive material is stored in solid form and has been double encapsulated. Scientists and technicians are wearing radiation monitors. The email noted radioactive material is a byproduct of things like cancer treatment, sterilisation of medical equipment, road construction, food processing, the timber industry, and scientific research. National security was the primary reason the ministry approached the Manawatu District Council requesting a non-notifiable consent. The email emphasised a high level of security at the facility. So on the face of it, this facility appears fairly secure. You've got a 2.5 metre high perimeter fence, you've got a gate code to get access, and there's CCTV everywhere. Planning documents say that the walls of the facility are made of precast concrete and steel beams. But all of that has done little to allay the concerns of locals. So you lease this land, Richard?
Yeah, mate.
Farmer Richard Waugh leases the land surrounding the radioactive waste facility as grazing fields for his cattle. And this is the radioactive waste dump?
Yeah, storage facility.
So did you get any sort of heads up from the Health Ministry or Defence Force that what was going in here was the country's radioactive waste?
Nothing. Like, it's right on our doorstep, like whether it's like a risk to us or not, like we're told it's not a risk to us, but it's pretty much just, it's a bit of a secret. No one wants to talk about anything. Like, well, why is it next to our house? Like, if you really wanted it somewhere, you could have, gone and hid it up in a hill somewhere, or, you could have put it anywhere else apart from somewhere quite public, like right on the corner of our farm.
How close is it to your house?
Mate, I think we might be 500 metres maybe.
Wouldn't you have thought that you would have been consulted, told about it, given the opportunity to oppose?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah.
And how do you feel that that didn't occur?
Pretty pissed off, like. Yeah, you just expect in this day and age when everyone's supposed to be pretty open and transparent, you don't get away with just sweeping shit under the carpet. Well, as a landowner, you need to know, and neighbouring, I would have thought, like, it was their duty to let us know what was happening.
The Director General of Health told the Herald the facility holds both low-level and intermediate-level radioactive waste, and gave the example of a teletherapy head used for radiation treatment of cancer patients as one item being stored there. When asked why the public was not told of the plan, the Health Ministry reiterated it was because of national security considerations. But Australian radiation expert Ian Lowe doesn't think that's the right approach.
Perhaps the government doesn't want to arouse unnecessary fears, but I think it is good practice to be open. And if people are given accurate information about the levels of radioactivity and what sort of substances are there, there's no reason for them to be concerned. But I think I'd be more concerned about secretiveness than about the government being open with what's there.
Lowe, an emeritus professor at Queensland's Griffith University, says New Zealand does not have nuclear reactors, so the waste generated is not high level.
It's not like uranium or plutonium, not like those highly radioactive substances. It's comparatively lightly radioactive. Low-level radioactive waste is comparatively benign, and it's very hard to see how that could be any sort of security risk.
In 1994, then Prince Charles made a special flying visit to this farm block. Back then, he went there because the farm was 100% organic.
He drove up to the farm because he wanted to see an organic farm in New Zealand. And now we've got that on the corner, so.
Does that change things quite a bit?
I don't think he'd be very impressed, would he?
So how exactly did this play out? In 1936, records show the Defence Force acquired land from the Wilson family. Council documents state the primary purpose of the land was for, quote, defence purposes. In 2021, the Health Ministry issued a notice of requirement to designate an area of the land for, quote, storage purposes. Plans were submitted by a consultancy firm on behalf of the Ministry in April 2022, outlining the development of a storage facility for the storage of spent radioactive material from around New Zealand. The interests of local iwi were noted, but it was determined the facility was not considered to have any effect on settlement areas. The Health Ministry confirmed the facility would meet various codes, including the International Atomic Energy Agency guidelines, the Radiation Safety Act, and the Code of Practice for Sealed Radioactive Material and the security of such material. The Health Ministry sought a non-notifiable consent and the Manawatu District Council accepted the plan with no changes.
We know that it's unlikely that it's going to leak out the wall, but it's the principle of it. And in my opinion, everything is safe until something goes wrong, human error.
What would you like to see happen?
I'd like it to be gone, taken away. It's right beside the communication discs for the Ministry of Defence. Well, who would put radioactive waste right next to the Ministry of Defence's communication dishes? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It makes a mockery of the Air Force.
Mary says she was frustrated with council leaders when she raised concerns about the facility.
They just said, Mary, we followed the process. That's all they would say. Said they were only consenting the building. It was irrelevant to them what was going in it.
Do you think it's a failure on their part?
Absolutely a failure on their part.
So planning documents I've read for this facility say radioactive waste from around the country is dropped off here once or twice a month, either by courier or occasionally by truck. There are some other curious aspects to the facility. The code for sealed radioactive materials states signs must be prominently displayed to warn of the presence of radioactive material. There are signs here, but they warn of a radiation hazard from a transmitting station or the nzherald communication dishes. There's nothing to suggest radioactive material is being stored in the adjacent building or that it's got anything to do with the Health Ministry. The Ministry told the Herald signage is used inside the building to alert visitors to the presence of radioactive material. It is not used outside, but this aligns with codes of practice and national security considerations. Ian Lowe, who was a member of Australia's Radiation Health and Safety Advisory Council for 12 years, argued having exterior signage is critically important for public safety.
It would be good practice that there be signage both on the building and on the fence that indicates that there are radioactive materials. I believe sunlight is the best disinfectant, that really people are more likely to be worried if they think the government is hiding something from them.
There is no signage saying there's radioactive waste there. It's been built in secret. Is that a risk to the public?
The greater risk, I think, is that the public will be concerned about secrecy and think that something very nasty is being hidden from them. Governments really should be open with the community, give them good information, and with good information, people have no real reason to be concerned.
And it is deceptive by nature of appearing as another defence area facility, but when that's apparently not what it is.
Geordie Wilson is Mary's son and has just returned home after working in Canada for the past 2 years.
And it's just so inherently deceptive. And that's what I think has been the hardest thing for Mum, as someone who's spent so long here. It means so much to us, and by nature of what it is, it's a blemish on what's such a beautiful piece of land.
You mentioned before you felt the building by its very nature was deceptive. Can you elaborate on what you mean?
It's evident that we're not supposed to know, and they're trying to make things easy for themselves by inherently misleading the public. Because it's not just a lack of signage, it's almost misleading signage. Because this appears to be Defence Force facility, which is not what it's being used for. It's being used for radioactive waste storage that could be here for decades.
His mum believes more thought and care should have been taken by government officials.
There could have even been farmers somewhere that would have sold them a bit of land and tucked it down the back of their farm, and they wouldn't have cared. But we do care, and we weren't given the opportunity to say anything or object to it.
What is your message to the government?
Yeah, just move it away, put it somewhere else, go and hide it somewhere, like if you want it hid. You know, get it away from everyone. There's plenty of room at like Wairuru.
And health officials came to meet you to try and tell you it was safe. Did that provide you with a reassurance that everything was all good?
Nah, not really. So, yeah, like it might be safe today, mate, but like once we get 10, 20, 30 years down the track, if there's something does go wrong, we've missed the boat, haven't we? So I'm just a farmer, but it's on my doorstep. So like any other farmer, like, would you really want this sat on your boundary.